With that being said, what is going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB Podcast Series. This is your host, Clifton Pope, and with me today, I have a very special woman who's become a very quick friend of mine, and for many, many reasons. It just pays off as far as just who you're connected to because you never know who you can meet every single day. That's lately become the theme of the HFWB podcast series more than ever because you are what your network is, right? And I want to give, of course, a special shout out to Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams for connecting me with the person who I'm about to bring on as a very special guest of the HFWB podcast series. I mean, she's a woman of very many talents. I mean, she's a elevated event coordinator. She's a licensed cosmetologist. She's also a very talented musician, singer, songwriter, poet. I mean, I was literally just listening to her song just a little while ago before we even started this podcast interview. I mean, she has songs called Banana Basin, Strange Ting, which is on Spotify and Apple Music.
Yes.
I mean, her persona and her overall vibe is just in the jungle, in the tune with the vibrations of the earth and everything. And I'm going to let her explain that because she could explain that a whole lot better than I can. If you don't know who I'm talking about by now, I want to welcome everybody, Miss Candi Ambridge, or you may know her as Alice in Ganjaland, to the HFWB podcast series. Candi, what is going on, my friend?
What's up, Clifton? How you doing? Thank you. Look, thank you. First of all, thank you for even taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me about, my music, my story, and how and where I'm trying to be, in the next few years with my music. I really appreciate it. I just thank you.
No, it's a thank you again. The feeling is mutual for just making time out of your busy schedule just to chat with us here on the HFWB podcast series. And a lot of people don't really know like your overall journey of how you got to where you are. And you basically been literally all around the world and then some. I mean, grew up in the Virgin Islands, then you spent some time in Atlanta, you went to Ohio, now where you currently are in Cleveland, Ohio. It's like for all the people who are listening to the HFWB podcast series and wants to know you as far as your background story, where you came from, how you got into your position you're currently in, kind of tell the people your story, Candi.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, okay, I mean, it's a lot, and we're gonna make it as, easy to understand from the beginning. So, my father is a musician, so that is definitely where I got a lot of my first musical taste, I'll say. Um,
Genetics, I love it.
Definitely. I had a lot of, grew up first of all in Ohio, well, Massachusetts, like Ohio, a couple places, but Ohio was where, look, the Ohio players, okay, we got the funk scene out here. And I really remember, look, hearing my dad listening to these, this music, different, a lot of different types, styles of music, reggae, of course, jazz and blues. And that's really where a lot of my inspiration came from, the nostalgic feel of a lot of those
Hmm.
genres, like the energy behind the sound and like the reason why they're writing those kind of songs like really stood out to me, like the blues. I
Hmm.
don't know if you know about some Howlin' Wolf, but I'm
Oh
here
yeah.
for all the yes, I'm like,
Oh
look,
yeah.
all the blues from the soul, and that music since a
Yeah.
young girl had moved me. I can say it that way, to where I it made me very interested in learning more about music. But at that time, I was really a poet. I really, as a young girl, wrote a lot of poems. I was really quiet. Look, I was a little shy, okay, in school, and I liked to read and write. I read a lot. I wrote a lot.
Yeah.
And further, moving forward, I into like my teenage years, I really I wanted to do music, but there were things that I was a little nervous about. It seemed really overwhelming. Like my background, just my dad did, he's very talented, but he had some struggles with substance abuse. So that
Mm.
kind of put it in a different light for me as I got
Hmm.
older. I thought that was kind of part of the lifestyle, and I didn't really like that lifestyle, the self-destructive lifestyle, to put
Right,
it
right.
that way, you know. But I loved that they, like the musicians that were even dealing with that, which is many that deal with substance abuse, are that's where, you know, they still are creating, and it's sometimes they create the, you know, their best art sometimes. I hate to say
Yeah,
that,
it's like
but
it's like whenever they deal with like the depression and the anxiety, it's like when they're at their lowest point, that's usually when their best work comes to where it's like people will really gravitate and feel it a whole lot more because it's like, damn, they were just at rock bottom and they worked their
yeah.
way up to the top. People
And
love
ain't
those
it
kind of
wild?
stories and
It's so
songs.
wild. I know. And it's
Yeah,
like, it sucks because we don't want to have to like keep, you know, dipping into those moments. But
right.
those are the moments where we do, I find, need to embrace music. Like, music has
Hmm.
saved me many times in like lowest points of mine. I suffer from some PTSD from some past traumas, and depression also. So that's where cannabis helps me, you know, keep that, and music helps me to keep it at bay. But it's been, I notice, like, you know, if you're okay, you might be sad. Boom, you put on a sad, you put on a sad song, and somehow it helps you. I don't, I don't, the
Yeah,
logic behind that, I don't know. It's like it might make you sadder at the time, but then after, like, you feel better. Maybe you feel like someone is with you in that sad moment. That song is speaking about your sadness. Like, you feel like they understand your sadness, and I think that's how I felt music was healing. And so I really started turning my poems into like songs. That was really what made me start saying, okay, what would I like? What would be cool to me to hear?
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's not a lot of, and that's where I guess the genre comes in. I don't really have a genre. I think
You don't.
I don't like to say creating a genre because that's kind of like
No,
everybody
because
does everything. Everybody is inspired by everybody. Boom. But I think my favorite genre really would be world music, which is a mashup of so many things like folk music, indigenous music from all around the world, different styles of tribal music. I mean, and it can go
mm,
as broad as like, I mean, you know, lo-fi sounds mixed with like, it gets very fusiony, very blended. And so that's really what I envisioned for my music. Like, it would be something nobody could say, "Oh, that's a soul artist." Okay, "Oh, that's just a R&B artist," or "That's
yeah,
just a pop artist." That's um because those are the songs that I like most, and the sounds I like most are sounds that are really focused on the feeling of it, like the
hmm,
energy. I could just, like, in working on the tracks, I'll hear a sound and be like, "Ooh, I want that sound in there." And the
hmm.
more you hear, like, it makes me feel a good feeling. And so I'm like, I want to use more of that sound. The more we hear that sound, and it really kind of builds off of sounds. I'm like, I know it sounds kind of
Yeah. No,
crazy, but
because
it's just
it's
in
like
my
I remember when I told you this, and whenever I first listened to your music, it's like I couldn't really determine what kind of style or sound that it really was because it was like one moment it had like the soul and the reggae vibes that you mentioned. Then next thing you know, it switched to like jazz and R&B. Then it had a little bit of you had maybe a couple sprinkles of a little bit of a hip hop sound
yeah.
to it as well. It was like the way you described it, world music, it literally it sums it up perfectly because it's so universal and it's like you could blend in with so many different genres, so many different audiences, and you can like you could gravitate to them in so many different ways. It's like
That's the goal.
whenever I heard about world music, it kind of struck me to where I was like, I've never heard of that. So it's like, for those who are listening, kind of educate them a little bit more on world music and how that ties into the vibrations and energies as far as your creative process within putting together the music
Yeah.
and at the same time just speak a little bit on how, like what drives you to kind of put out basically the musical experience for people to witness.
Yeah, like, well, so firstly, I world music, like I was saying, it's really something that to me encompasses humanity, like
Yeah.
humans, period. All of us in this together. You know, there's no
Hmm.
like separation, and we've seen it. I mean, not to get all mushy, you know, R.I.P. Michael Jackson, but he
Right.
was one of those artists that really that was a huge inspiration, seeing how just the healing of it is what I
Oh
mean.
yeah.
No matter what he's talking about, no matter what song, someone is healed and touched by that story that he told, and by, and it's, you can't say. I mean, yes, of course, they kind of say, you know, his music is you know, in R&B, sometimes pop, sometimes it's it, but I feel like to me, his spirit encompassed world music. You know what I mean? Like for everybody, something that different sounds you hear, you know, and he understood the channel. I like to call it, like, it's like channeling almost. It's
See,
not
I never
just
thought about it like that as far as whenever I listen to Michael Jackson, but now every now next time I listen to him, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit
oh
more
yeah,
because you're right. Because he doesn't, you can't even categorize Michael Jackson because yeah, you could say he's R&B, yeah, you could say he's pop, but he's doing both of them so well. It's kind of like,
everything, rock,
yeah.
look, anything. He could do anything.
He pretty
So
much, and I think he may have said that as a song lyric at one time. I forgot what song, but I remember him saying something about I could do
he
anything. Or
can and did, okay, and did, and
exactly.
that's but that's really the you know, just one example of the many inspirations over my life dealing with what made me really want to do music. It also was not just healing like for other people, but it was really therapeutic for me, going through a lot of the things that I went through, turning like first, because poems was really where it started, like writing
Right.
down what was happening. Like at 16, I had, you know, look, we'll do a little story time. Well, at 9 years old, I lost my best friend. Like she had ended up
Oh
getting very
man.
sick and she passed away when we were both 9. And then again, when I turned 16, like one of my first you know, crush, like little, you know, got was actually murdered back in my neighborhood. So
Wow.
there was just things that I wrote about. I mean, things that I had to write about to get through, you know, that really
Yeah, just
helped
to
me.
get over the situation
Mm-hmm.
itself, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And when I look back at a lot of those writings, I was like, damn, you know, some of them are pretty heavy, but some of them, the heavy ones, if I'm turning it into a song, I like to still make it, um, you know, danceable. That's why I say, you know, nothing to, because I don't want to completely bum people out, but I also, you know, part of healing together is acknowledging that people have fucking grief, people have sadness, people have loneliness, people have, you know, disconnectedness. And I think music really, in my experience and in so many other people's experience that I know, has really brought change. I mean, many different changes in people, around people. Um,
Hmm.
it's really magic. It's one of, I feel like one of the things that Spirit, the Most High, gave us as humans, like to be able to transcend and to heal and to, you know, drum work is all, it's real, you know, when they're raising vibration, you have a drum circle and everybody's drumming for,
Hmm.
you know, 20-30 minutes. I'm talking about, you know, raising the vibration. It actually does, it raises like frequencies in your body, in your
Hmm.
spirit, in the energy all around. And to some people it's subtle, but to some people it like, you can't miss it. It's moving you, you
Yeah.
know.
And you made a very great point as far as just as far as music, just in general, because you are right, Candy. Music is like magic. It's like there's a certain feeling you get. You don't know where it's coming from, but it's like sparking all of these things inside of you, and you feel like you're no longer in control. And it's more of like a higher power within the
Mm-hmm.
universe, and you can feel like the energy and the vibrations from the universe flowing through you through that. And whenever you're writing down those poems, putting together those words and putting
Yeah.
together those rhyme schemes and just overall telling a story that people can relate to, people can feel, and most importantly, help kind of like heal through their own personal experiences. Because that's
Yes.
kind of what we listen to music for, is just to either heal from an experience or at the same
Yeah.
time get us motivated, inspired,
Yeah.
uplifted, and most
And I
importantly, just
think
get us
people too.
energized.
Agreed. And I was gonna say, I think people like to also, like for me, I like to see myself in, or hear, you know, hear myself in a song that makes you really, like I said, feel more connected. Like in moments where I felt so alone, I feel like when you hear a song that makes you feel connected. You're like, wow, somebody on this fucking planet, at least somebody, one buddy feels the same way that I feel. At
Yeah,
least one
it's like we were just
person.
talking about. All it takes is one person. The next thing you know, hundreds of people will be listening. That'll grow into thousands, just one day at a
Yeah.
time, one step at a time, without a doubt. And it's like, I love how you're telling your story through the music within your in your alter ego to a certain extent. Because I gotta ask you this. I love the theme as far as Alice in Ganjaland, because it's kind of like combining your two passions together, as far as, because most people don't
Yes.
realize how much of a cannabis advocate you are.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it ties into your music, because it's like you're
Yes.
taking them through a journey, not only through the cannabis world, but also just through music in general, of course, with the
Yes.
jungle vibes, the world music, and
Yes.
everything. Where did the name Alice in Ganjaland come from? And it's like,
Oh, people
overall,
ask me
kind of
that all
just
the
break down
time.
the story behind each song. From, like, most people don't know, you have a song called Banana Basin, you have a song called
Mhm.
Strange Ting, which is
Strange
one of my
Teen.
favorite,
I
and you
just
also
released
just
a
put out,
single called Montage.
I was just about to say, and you put out just a new single called Montage as well. Kind of
Yeah.
break down the Alice in Ganjaland theme, and kind of break down the story between each of those three songs.
Yes. Okay. Well, look, so things get a little trippy. So
Of
another
course,
part of
let's go on a
me,
trip, shall we?
look, things get trippy over here. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Was I was born probably like having, I don't know, some people call it a curse. I call it a gift. Okay. Seeing um the spirit realm, hearing and seeing spirits, not even, really seeing them touching me, them talking to me seeing them in my rooms, different houses, like growing up. Like it was something that my brother didn't see, and he would think I was mad crazy when I was young. And so, but my mom would believe me. She's had experiences. But long story short, that is something that really inspired when I first seen, I'll tell you, when I first seen Alice in Wonderland, the movie, like the
Yeah, yeah,
cartoon. I
yeah.
was pretty young. I was probably about 6 years old, maybe seven. And I felt like what Alice was going through was like kind of what I was going through. Like it
Mm.
made me feel like, okay, when I seen that movie the first time, I was like, wow, she's like imagining, I had a little bit of a rough go childhood. Like, I said my father suffered of substance abuse. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I used a lot of my imagination. I used to read and write a lot, but really imagining better things. Really, I remember being pretty depressed as a little girl, as a young girl. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, like, it was pretty rough. But I had a huge imagination, and that movie literally opened. Like I felt like my brain just like went like opened, like my brain opened, and I started being like, wow, she's like dreaming of this place, and she goes to this place, like in her mind she creates this place where she like creates these people, like these characters, these people that she meets, and it takes her out of where she is, but like the whole time she's like sitting under this tree. They show her at the end and she's like sleeping, but like she did all this shit. Like she done went through all these like, it's basically like adventures, like meeting all these people, and
Yeah.
that literally inspired. I mean, it inspired almost everything in my life after that. Looking at things like the way I problem solve, the way I feel like I'm a pretty curious person. I feel like I see things in a different way that a lot of people don't. Like I felt like Alice, they would tell her like, "Oh, you're just being silly and all this nonsense and all this bull crap," and she's like telling me like, "No, I seen that shit. I was there. I did." Kind of like The Wizard of Oz would be another movie that inspired me in that way. But firstly, it was Alice. So it stuck with me. And then as I got older, cannabis was a humongous, another part of my healing journey as I got older, my older teenage years, about 19, 20. And I really, from my depression, from like my trauma, I had a foot injury by then. And so yeah, I found cannabis. So everything, after that, I just wanted to learn more about. I learned to grow. Like I went to the Cleveland School of Cannabis out in Ohio out here. I worked at the dispensary for some years. I work with a cannabis doctor. So I really like dove in like over as the years went on. So that was definitely a huge part of my healing, and it allowed me to write differently, like opened up a different side of my creativity. So I really,
Yeah.
it changed my writing, like from the time when I wasn't smoking weed to then after when I was, the writings
Yeah.
changed, And so all my songs really, honestly, probably almost every song really references weed. I reference cannabis a lot, and in most of my music, I want people to know that that's a lot of the good vibes that you're getting through the sound
Yeah.
waves. Okay, it's meant for the plant teacher. Like I call cannabis a plant teacher. It's my first plant teacher, and second, I'm here for the mushrooms. I'm always here for the mushrooms, but cannabis is first, and I just call, like, it's inside joke, but like when I get like extra extra blazed, I would say like going to Ganjaland. You know what I mean? Going to so it just turned. Look, Alice in Ganjaland. That's where it happened. It was like
I love it. I love the creativity and the story behind that, because it's like you really are tapping into like your creative side, and just goes back to just the right side of the brain, which is that's usually like where the best stories come out. That's usually where the best ideas come, as far as just bringing your vision and your story more to life, is just tapping into your creativity, into your imagination, because your imagination really doesn't have any limits. You can literally imagine anything that
literally,
you want up here. It's just a matter if you want to bring it into the physical form or not.
yeah.
That's it's kind of
That
like just beginning with
you
the end
just
in
said it.
mind.
You
Yeah.
just said it, because that's literally like, as a girl, I that's what I was saying. That's the feeling of, okay, maybe I'm sitting in this like boring dusty ass room, but but then like when you close your eyes and you can just imagine. I just remember being amazed as a young girl, learning the power of my imagination, like literally being like, wow, I can picture these things that I've never seen. And even deeper, being part of the spirit realm, seeing things that other people didn't see. That was another lesson for me, like realizing not everybody has that experience, and to give people grace, because people think I was fucking crazy. I'm talking about, I've talked to people that they're like, hell no, you didn't talk to no spirits, you don't see no spirit. That's great. Like, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah, absolutely fucking not.
Hey,
And
spirits
I
are a
have to
real.
understand, if they didn't have that experience, maybe they don't believe it, and that's okay,
See,
because I don't believe it. I know it. That's what I tell people. I'm not believing nothing. I'm not believing anything.
yeah.
It's actually facts. I've seen it. I spoke to, like, no, I don't have to explain
There,
that
there's
to anyone. So
there's such thing as a spiritual world and a spiritual realm. I mean, last time I checked, God is spirit. I mean, so it's like
thank you.
so
We didn't
so
just look. We didn't just
basically,
walk up in here like, hey.
yeah, yeah. So it's like you're they're making fun of you for talking to spirits, but yet they're quick to say, for instance, go to a church and pray to God, which technically is a spirit. So it's like, I mean, come on. I mean, you
Thank
got to
you.
be.
And look, even deeper, to kind of look to finish that point, I say that to people who seem to be. I've had some arguments. I have some family that's very religious, and I'll say it
Yeah.
like that. And they definitely are not feeling. I read tarot. I meditate. I'm into the. I practice, some magic. So, and healing magic, roots work, energy work, all positive things.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
not out here hexing people. We're not out here cursing people. I don't do them thing. We don't do them thing.
yeah.
But no, and it's real. And there's people that really, if they don't have that experience, I could see how.
Yeah, and it's like I always like to joke about this all the time. I mean, God put cannabis on this earth to help people go overcome the struggle. If I'm not mistaken correctly, I think it was Cat Williams who said that. I remember when he said that, he was like, God put weed on this planet to help people overcome the struggle and all this kind of stuff. And it's
Yes,
true. I mean, there's
he
so many
did.
people who are struggling with so many different things, like you alluded to, as far as helping you overcome the depression, overcoming the
My God,
post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, it's a real thing. Like I
it's
myself, I
real.
use cannabis just to help myself sleep at night, because it helps me sleep a little bit better. So there is
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. And that, I
Yes.
mean,
No, no, there's not. And that's the thing. People have lost that spiritual connection
yeah,
to nature, to land, to the earth, and people really have demonized
it's like it's
natural
basically
things.
it's like I like to call cannabis one of the holy trinity, one of the three holy trinities, which is
It is.
prayer, meditation, cannabis. That's
It
to me,
really
it's kind of like the holy trinity to keep you at peace in mind at all the time. And that's something that I practice every single day and probably will be the
thanks.
case until the death of me. But since we're on the cannabis conversation, based on off of your overall experience in the world, where do you see the state of cannabis going based off of your direction and your sense on your everything you've been through as far as like working in dispensaries and stuff like that? Where do you see it going as far as say the next few years down the road?
Man, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I get a lot of people want it to be like federally legal, and
Yeah.
I there's things, of course, that like I would love about that we would all love and benefit from if it was,
Mhm.
but my worry is just because the government, is such a beast, and so I get the more they have their hands in it, the worse I feel like it could get, the market as a whole. And so it turned into like, we joke about it, me and my friends, but like corporate weed, like it turns into like taking the soul out of it and the craft part of it and the mom and pop
Yeah.
part of it, making it like if it was federally, then they'd be able to control it how they want, like,
Yeah.
and I get it, like we need that because you can't like travel certain places and like they make it hard for us. So but it's like I'm glad that more countries like around the world are getting on board. I've been seeing, I mean, way more states. Last year we got a couple more states. Ohio, we just went recreational. Like we've been medical, but we just went recreational, and it goes into effect like in a few months. Actually, in the fall, in September here. So,
Oh wow,
I
that's
mean,
good
it's
to know.
moving. Like states are finally, yeah, like opening up to it, but it's just different. I mean, I lived in the Caribbean, like I said, for like around 10 years. And so from when I turned 18, but the dynamic is just completely different. It's not stigmatized like it is in a lot of the states that aren't already all about it. So it's been like, I'm excited because I see it happening more and more, like more states, but I just wonder how much the government is going to have their hands in it, and what they're going to do with that
That's a
being
that's
said.
that's a
So,
that's actually a very great point because I feel like if the government were to have their hands into it, I feel like they're either two things are going to happen. They're going to try to turn it into some form of a pill, or they're going to try to inject it with something to where it takes away from the actual craft of it. One of the two things. But honestly, it's like the government should just, I mean, it probably won't ever happen, but this is just me hypothetically speaking. The
right.
government should just let it do its part because, I mean, look at Colorado and look at California.
Thank you.
It's not about, you know, getting high off of the THC. It's
No,
about healing yourself from the medicinal effects of it. It's curing people from cancer for
I
God's sakes. And at
literally
the
that's
same time it's
thank
creating
you.
jobs
Thank
within
you.
the economy that helps out as far as giving people like some sort of like standard of living as far as just, taking
Yep.
care of themselves. I mean,
Yep.
cannabis has grown to like a whole nother level. I mean, last time I checked, I mean, California has made billions of dollars off of it. And
Billions. And
and
they
I'm,
just,
and I'm here living in Texas right now, thinking to myself, we're like so far behind when it comes just to that. I mean, they're barely talking
I
about like
know.
decriminalizing it and all this
They
stuff.
doing
And I
y'all
just
so wrong in Texas. They do y'all so wrong in
I
Texas.
know it's there. It's I always me and my dad talk about this all the time. Texas is such a old school racist state, and they're still
I
stuck in
know.
like the
My God.
1860s. It's not even funny, but that's a
It's
whole
not.
nother discussion. But I will say this though.
That's a whole nother look, because I was like, don't get me started because
I
the
will say
colonizers done whoosh
I
out
will
in that
say
mother.
this though. If Texas were to just legalize cannabis like on a medical and recreational level, do you imagine how much money and how much healing could be done in the state of Texas? We
They
would probably
need
be twice as
to.
big as California and Colorado
They
combined.
need to. Do you
Yeah.
know how they did? We're going back to reefer madness. I'm talking about Brownville. Like, look, Texas. This is also right. Mexico. Like, it's right in the. That's the same. So it was basically dominated, and the racism literally is what abolished that whole situation. They
Yeah.
didn't want the Mexicans there. They called it marijuana. They made it racist, and they said, "You
Yeah.
motherfuckers have to get out of here." And
Yeah.
then they took it over, and now it's some like America shit going on over there, and it's
Yeah.
really a hot mess. And that belongs to the Mexican people. Look, that belongs to the indigenous people, Texas.
And see that's another thing that
And they
people don't
wanted
realize.
cannabis. They wanted nature. That's what they. You see, Mexico, they doing the damn thing. They don't wreck the whole thing. Look, they just said we're just. And Texas is right there, and that did belong to Mexican people. If we're
And
being all the way
most people don't even
100,
realize that.
and
Most people
and
don't realize there was a period in time between like the mid to late 1800s to where about, I would say, 1930s, somewhere around there. Basically, weed and cannabis was basically being prescribed for everything. And like you alluded to, it took some racist at a newspaper stand who was literally about to lose his job, basically just went on an attack on the Mexicans saying, oh, they're illegal criminals, they're using marijuana to do all these crimes, and
they're gonna go crazy and kill everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and it became such a huge headline. The federal government said, whoa, we ain't gonna have that go on in Texas. And then it basically led to everything that's going on, that we're literally trying to
right on our backs on the Aboriginal American people, African American, the Aboriginal American people.
Yeah.
And they decided to say, okay, now these jazz musicians, now these black people are using this weed, now they're doing. And so then they really was like, look, we don't want the Mexicans, we don't want the black people.
Exactly.
It's all racist. All of it. If you're doing
drug on wars,
you're going to jail. And they just used it as a reason to completely, abolish and demolish our brown, black and brown communities. Really is.
It's sad. Yeah.
And now they can make, where I get extra cross. Okay. Because now we're in a time where now the people whose families, their ancestors benefited off of the brown ancestors. And now guess what? They're in here making millions and billions of dollars owning medical legal weed dispensaries after they done put all the brown people in jail over just trying to do what y'all are doing now on a big scale, when we were our ancestors were already doing that. We're already there, but then
it's crazy.
It got taken, and then now, and we're in a different time, and I think now we're seeing for the cannabis industry more black and brown owned dispensaries popping up. I love it. We're seeing more prison reform. We're seeing, so there is things that, I see more black owned weed businesses just all around. And so it's,
for sure,
it's happening. But like in the state of Ohio, I worked at the only black owned dispensary in Ohio. There's one. There's one. You know what I'm saying? In the state. You know what I'm saying? It's really, there's a chain. It's black woman owned, and Ariana's incredible. Shout out to Ariana. She's amazing. And she's a veteran also. And she has 3 stores, but they're all spread out around Ohio, but it's still one dispensary. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm talking about in the state, and that was really discouraging. And that's how you can for sure see like certain markets, of course, like we said, are still very racist and still very corrupt, even in these times,
And it's funny. It's funny. They had this whole big old thing as far as the war on drugs, which really, honestly, was just a war against black people and Hispanics. That's really what it was. It was a war on race. And it's funny because they don't even talk about that anymore because there's so many other things that's overtake that. I mean, the government thinks they're slick, but they're not. But overall, Candi,
how soon people forget, huh? How soon they forget.
But overall, Candi, we're actually at the point of my podcast where I'm basically going to ask you like a list of questions that I usually ask everybody who come on the podcast, just to get people a little bit more about your story and just to pick your brain a little bit at the same time. First question I have for you, Candi, is what is the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up?
Look, okay, y'all about to laugh because it is literally smoke.
It's all about honesty here.
When
Let's
I wake
be
up,
honest.
okay, that's the first. That is the first. Not even kidding. No lies told. Okay, it's the first thing. And of course, like I'm a mama, so like my son. I mean, I think about him all. I get a little frazzled as moms and dads, parents. We need time away and to re-level and get our me time. But like I'm one of those moms that when I'm having my me time, like I think about my son. I'm like, what is he doing? Is he okay? I hope he's I hope
Hmm.
he's good. I hope he's chilling. So look, family and weed every day. Every day.
Got you, got you. Here on the HFWB podcast series, it's the firm believer of health is wealth. You can't have one without the other. They're kind of two sides of the coin. In your own personal definition, Candy, what is your definition of health and wealth to you?
That's a good one. Man, health to me is most definitely being comfortable in your body. Like, and that looks different for everybody, I think, but feeling comfortable to me in your body, not always, worried about one thing or the other, to me feels like health. No matter what weight you are, if you feel healthy and comfortable, that's when I feel like, to me that means health and wealth. I don't look at wealth as like a financial thing. I think
Right.
wealth really is like knowledge to me. Wealth, like that's the
Mm,
wealth of life for me is knowledge. I'm such a curious person, and I just love to learn, and I feel wealthy in that way, like rich in knowledge and rich in spirit and these things, not necessarily. But I would love, of course, look, generational wealth is always like something we strive for as brown people. Look, that's one of the prayers that go
that's
up
yeah.
every day. Okay.
I got you. I got you. Now we're gonna make a little bit of a transition into like something I like to call either or, as far as picking which one you would choose out of the other. And of course, I'm gonna twist it up a little bit just for you.
Okay.
Um, would you rather choose loyalty or respect?
That's so hard. Because I feel like they go hand in hand, but
No,
like
you're right. They do go hand in hand. But if you had to pick which one would you choose?
respect.
Okay, okay. Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Anonymous and rich. Sure.
Would you rather have unlimited would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurants or first class tickets unlimited?
First class tickets. I love to travel.
Yes, yes. Would you rather sing to every song or dance to every song?
Oh, that's so hard. Sing, sing.
Hey, you got to. Now, picture this scenario, Candy. If you were trapped on an island, right, and if you had the opportunity to say you had the opportunity to listen to five of your favorite music artists of all time with their whole entire catalog, obviously doesn't matter the genre, who would those five artists be?
Oh God! Look, I love so many artists. I have to get it together. Um,
I know you could go in many different directions without a doubt, but if you had to choose five, who
Bob
would you choose?
Marley. Bob Marley.
Oh yeah.
Most certainly Bob Marley, the prophet.
Oh yeah.
Amy Winehouse. Always Amy Winehouse. Forever.
Okay. Okay.
It's so hard. There's so
You got
many.
Bob Marley and Amy Winehouse. Not a bad. That's a great start, actually.
Whitney Houston. Whitney
Hmm.
Houston.
Okay.
Always. R.I.P. Whitney. Look, okay, Michael, we doing it. We doing it. Michael. Michael Jackson. And Fela Kuti. Fela Kuti. Can't get enough.
Legendary, legendary, legendary at
Can't
its
do enough.
finest. I love it. I love it. And since we're on the topic of cannabis, I have to ask you this: sativa or indica?
Sativa diva over here. Okay. That thing that thing keeps me going. Like indica, it's not always, we already know, look, it's about them terps, but let me say, when the terps are leaning to our indica sides, it really puts me down, like for the count. So sativa really gets my creative juices at their
It
best. And
does.
um, it pushes me through my day, like for work, like with my dealing with a toddler. Okay, the energy, the
No,
sativa.
I definitely understand the effects of sativa and everything. I mean, here's a popular example of this. I mean, I remember hearing Seth Rogen talk about his love for sativa and how it's helped him create all of his most popular movies that
I
he's
love
ever made,
him.
like obviously Pineapple Express,
Yeah,
all these other ones and stuff like that.
that's
But
yep.
I have to
Look, it's a
ask you this,
fact.
Candy. What is your favorite strain of weed?
Mm, green crack,
Wow.
my favorite, all time favorite. Like I can't find it. Like since I moved back from the VI back to the States, I don't find it a lot here, and it's really bums me out. No one knows how bummed I am about it, but I'm very bummed about it, and I try to find it. And I, when I travel, I find it. In certain other states, I have found it, but not in Ohio. Why they do me like that?
Maybe one day, Candy. Maybe one day
Maybe one
that will
day. What's
happen.
your favorite strain? What's your
My favorite, whew, so many.
I know there's too
If I
many.
had to, if I had to pick like my go-to anything within the Kush family, but if I had to pick a certain one, I would say probably OG Kush. It would be a toss-up between OG Kush and Granddaddy Perp for me personally.
Classics, the classics. Those
Those are
are
the classics to me, but I will say
those.
this: the obvious best strain I have personally smoked myself, Khalifa Kush.
I love.
I remember I got a hold of that one time. I was like, yes, I'm going to
Hey, that
treasure
thing
this and
had me
make
like,
this last as much as possible for sure. But
I
I
was
was going to
like,
say,
thank you, Lord, for this green. Look, I was thanking the Most
exactly,
High.
exactly. Your favorite go to meal, Candy, what would that be?
Chicken and waffles. Chicken and waffles. Not even kidding. Not even kidding.
There's nothing wrong with chicken and waffles. That's
That's
a
my favorite
classic.
meal. That's my favorite. Like I would eat it every day if I could, and I have to not and be actively not doing that to myself. But I would. So I know that that's next to mac and cheese. If like macaroni and cheese and then chicken and waffle, those are like two of those are my those.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of macaroni and cheese myself. I've always loved macaroni and cheese ever since I was little. I remember when my parents would always make mac and cheese with the Sunday night dinner and everything. Man, I felt like those were the best times
You
ever.
remember those little dinners, okay, with the little penguins on them, and they had the
Yes.
corns and the like chicken nuggets. Look, that was my jam with the mac and cheese, the applesauce. I'm talking about.
Yes, that's classic right there. That's now we're going back to my childhood days right there. Let me
I
tell
know
you,
it's like,
my
oh, that was
goodness.
so long ago.
It
But
was, it was. I mean, it
for
seems
me,
like
it's
it
like
was
that.
just yesterday, but I remember it vividly, still to this day. Now, I know you mentioned Candy that you definitely love to travel. Most importantly, where is the favorite place that you have traveled to thus far? And at the same time, where's a place that you haven't traveled to yet that you would love to visit?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, definitely my favorite place that I've been to, Jamaica. Jamaica.
Hmm.
It is
That's one of my dream vacations there. I'm so jealous of you. I'm not
fucking
even gonna lie. How did
fantastic.
that
Like
experience turn out?
everything, like the all the good things that they say are quite true. Like I don't like to buy into the whole it's dangerous and you know me man, you know how that goes. Anywhere
Yeah,
can be
yeah.
dangerous. Like if you're a
That,
tourist, blah blah blah. But I had a beautiful experience and never like my first time going. I mean, didn't know anybody but the people I was working for. I was doing hair for Caribbean Fashion Week, and
okay,
I
okay.
was doing hair for models. And I mean, they showed me such a fantastic time. The food was absolutely incredible. The beaches were fucking stunning. The weed was fantastic. I was like,
Yeah.
everything was bliss. Okay, Jamaica, the music, like the night spots. I'm talking about fantastic. So they show you such a beautiful time. They just know how to like they do it right. Like they do the island, they do it right. That's all I have to say. Like
I
and
believe it.
where I, where I want to go, there's quite a few places, but I guess I'm trying to think of the first. There's so many. Really, to be honest, like Mexico, I haven't been to Mexico. sounds basic, but I really there's places around Mexico. My favorite artist is Frida Kahlo. I don't know if you've heard of Frida Kahlo. So, but her museum, like her house, is in Mexico. So I want to visit her art, see her art, and visit her house. And like I love Mexican food, and
Hey,
I love
don't feel
Mexican
ashamed
food.
for
So
saying that. That
everything
sounds
about it,
basic.
I want.
I've never been to Mexico either. That's another place I would love to go. I have like a bucket list of places that I want to go, just like
Same.
everybody else. I would definitely say Jamaica and Mexico are definitely towards the top, without a doubt. You know, just got to work on
Sri
getting that
Lanka also.
passport first, but I'm gonna get there though.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
One day at a time, one step at a time, without a doubt, for sure.
Right.
But Candy, you're extremely busy. You're extremely dedicated in your craft. But whenever you're not doing all the things that you're doing on an everyday basis, what are some of your favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
Uh, well, I'm like a true crime fanatic. So that's one of my like weird little. I watch a lot of true crime and like those court cases, and like I'm like really into it. Like I'm like really I get like really consumed and like curious about like how
Like
the
you're
cases
studying
really
it
go.
like a
I think
sign.
I'm a detective. Like low key. I think I'm a detective at this point. I think I can solve a crime. Like let's just be real. And that's I mean, and really writing, like it's crazy, but I write a lot still in my free time. I'm always writing like voice memos in my phone or speaking, doing spoken word, like just to remember and to save moments.
Perfecting the craft. I love it.
Yeah, I write a lot every day, actually, probably a couple times a day. I'll stop and like write a line for something or say I need to record this like real quick and say something. Yeah, like
It's like when you're obsessed with your passion, it's just there is no on and off switch. That's pretty much simple, straightforward point to that, without a
yeah.
doubt. My last question for you, Candy, as we wrap everything up here. Say you had the opportunity, right, to go back in time and talk to yourself 10 years ago. What would you tell yourself? And at the same time, where do you see yourself based on your overall journey, where you are at this exact moment in the next 10 years?
Mm. Man, well, like to my 10-year ago self, um, I would definitely just say like things things can get like things will get easier. I'd like to say it like that. Things will because at that time I was having a really rough time in my life with like my family life, my relationship. I was healing from a very abusive relationship. I had like a guy put a gun to my head. I mean, like an abusive relationship, really.
Mm.
So I was still, recovering from that and some mental struggles at that time. So I would definitely like tell myself like it's gonna be easy. It gets easier than this. This is not like it seems like it won't, but it does. And
Okay.
to my 10-year in the future. So um, I'm really hoping to have some more like get my business, have my businesses rolling and be back to somewhere warm, back back out of here, and really just continuing on being creative with my family around as much as possible. I'm really not looking for like anything. I wouldn't say anything grand. I just really want to have some land, really that I can have my own farm, grow my own things, and
You just want to be just want to be in a place to where you could experience perfect peace and
yeah,
basically just create your own wonderland, or for instance, your own ganja land, so to
yes,
speak.
that's the one.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's a great way to end everything based off of your overall journey that you've been on. And now, Candy, here is the time where you could just tell people as far as what you have coming, as far as any future projects. Where can people find you on social media? Do you have any new music coming soon? Because, yeah, tell the
Absolutely.
people what you have coming, Candy.
I will. So I just had released a single called Montage, and that's a song. You guys can check it out. It's on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple Music,
It's a
Tidal.
great song. Y'all
Yeah.
won't be disappointed, I'm telling you.
No, thank you. Look, it's funny. That song is actually summing up the last couple years of my life that like probably 2021 to like 2023. I mean, we all know like after COVID, like shit in the world has been wild, and it caused a effect of a lot of different effects. And I was battling also right along everybody else, and I think that song, um, really, it's called Montage because I had a moment of like stress and thought about, okay, like movies, when people get like have some bullshit happen, and then they get this montage in the movie, and then they're like showing them working out and like getting their life right, and it's like
Yeah,
showing
yeah,
all these months and years of
yeah,
growth in like 2 minutes, okay. Like
yeah.
2 minutes, and they're showing like all this shit, and it's like I literally one day was just going through it was like, why can't like why I need a montage, like why do people, how do you get one of those? And so that's really the spirit of what made me put that song together. Just some of my crazy thoughts about it, and it's more of a has some hip hop elements to that song.
It
And
does.
I yeah no soul kind of, yeah, a little mixable. And I had and my single before that is a song called Strange Ting. That's a song I wrote really back about my spiritual. That's the spiritual side. Really, it's a jazz kind of heavy jazz influence, and a little really vibey, kind of lo-fi and jungly still. And it's really a song about the strange thing. Life is strange. Like there's things that humans
Yeah, you
can't
can say
explain,
that
that we
again.
can't explain, and yeah, we just have to suck it up, and that's it. Like we're all in
Yeah.
this together. Like I always keep saying, and that just I wanted to put that energy out there. Like just don't worry. Some things are weird, and that's it. And we can't explain. Some shit is crazy, and we just have to keep pushing. And we have to some things we don't have to try to make sense of, but just respect the unknown and just we got to go with the flow. And Banana Basin, my first single, um, a basin is like a dip, in the earth. So I used it really as like metaphorically, like, well, banana basin. The shit. It's really about colonization over across the world, which is something that I think, as a whole, like, has really ruined a lot of our planet, like through colonization. It's a big deal, and so that song was kind of like an ode to all of the Aboriginal and Indigenous peoples all around the world. Just listening, like, knowing that I'm look, I see them. Okay, I see that the language is forgotten, the practices that we've had to forget as people, brown people through colonization of the world over our whole lives, really, to be honest. So
Yeah.
um, and that's really what that song is talking about. It's a little angry. I know some of the lines sound a little like, but it is it's talking
Hmm.
about colonization and how it's fucked up the planet and how it's fucked up our people and how it's fucked up a lot of things and continues to fuck it up by cutting down everything and trying to build more hotels and build more shit and build more electric, all this shit and robots and shit. And it's like we just keep getting further and further away from nature and further further away from.
I agree with everything you just said and then some, without a doubt on that. And it's like, yeah, for basically for those who haven't listened to the song Banana Basin, Strange Tings and Montage, you can go check it out on Spotify and Apple Musics. And if I'm not mistaken, Candy, you are on Instagram, of course.
Yep.
That is right.
Yes. Alice in Ganjaland XO at the end. The letter X and the letter O. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm kind of messing around. I'm trying to take TikTok. I'm trying, but I use Instagram. Is really the platform that I use the most. So find me over there.
Yes, and believe me, something tells me within the next couple of years or so, it wouldn't surprise me if we see like some kind of like special performance by you, maybe on a big time an award show. Because I really do feel like your music is definitely going to get you there at one point whenever things start to open up a little bit more. Who knows? You may be
Lord
even
willing.
at the
Lord
Grammys one night.
willing.
Who knows? I'm calling it within the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Because for anyone who
Already.
hasn't listened to Candy's music, y'all need to go listen to it again on Spotify and Apple Music's Alice in Ganjaland. You won't be disappointed. And I'm guarantee you she's probably going to put out some sort of an EP, I can imagine, soon. That way
Yes.
you'll have even more of her wonderful
That's what
jungle
I'm
vibe
working on. I'm
world
definitely
music.
working on one. It'll be, it's definitely sometime this year, but that's what I've been working on. I've been releasing singles really until I can put out a full project, an EP. So, and I have a single coming out soon. It's called Earth. It's a really almost a kind of house, kind of dance track, a little EDM style, but some reggae and some tribal. It's very cool. Dancing in the jungle kind of sound, and it's a song called Earth. It'll be probably another couple weeks here. We're almost there.
More exclusives on the HFWB podcast series. That's what it's all about. We got a new song called Earth coming soon from the Alice and Ganjaland vibes. And we're going to have ourselves an EP coming at some point in 2024. So for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, that should give you more of a reason to follow Candi and her wonderful journey, because she got things coming and she's going to continue her jungle vibes, whether you like it or not. We're going to keep on pushing. That's for sure. Candi, thank you so much just for sharing not only your wonderful story, your beautiful experience, but just simply blessing us with the appearance on the HFWB podcast series. It's all love, peace, and positive vibrations every time.
Always. I appreciate you so much. It was so nice talking to you.
No, for sure. Anytime. The feeling is mutual and the pleasure is all mine. And with that being said, it's yours truly, Clifton Pope, on the HFWB podcast series. I'd like to thank Candi for being a guest on the HFWB podcast series. And may y'all continue to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. And until next time, peace and love, y'all.